We need to show up for ourselves. We need to show up for our families. We need to show up professionally. We need to show up for our greater community. Those are all extremely important. But we also need to allow all four of those facets to help us out too. Well, welcome back to the Priority Report. Excited to be here for our latest episode. Today, we're going to be talking a bit about the reciprocity of relationships and relationship dynamics. It's a little bit of a personal one for me. Also a topic that I get very passionate about. So, I'll do my best to try and streamline our conversation and stay on point. But before I get into all of that jazz, let me just give you a little priority life update of my own. As of this morning, my lovely little pupper decided that he was going to make friends with a skunk in the backyard, who I'm pretty sure is living underneath my shed as a stowaway. And so now my entire day, aside from this episode, is going to be derailed to deal with the smelliness that is my 30-some pound doggo. So not looking forward to that. That's kind of a big bummer on me. But these are the things that happen, and this is why we learn how to shift priorities. And that's okay. So it comes with trade-offs, and so that will be mine. That will be mine for today. In the past week or so, since we were last here chatting, and we'll get into this more in a minute, but I prioritized getting to know someone, and having a first date over things that I would typically have prioritized for myself, but they were in town for a very limited amount of time, and I wanted to make sure that I was not distracted by things that were going on, whether it was with my house or with the business or clients or family or anything else. And so things that would normally have been high on my list of things to do, like going to the gym or drinking my water or whatever, somehow that one got lost in the fold, went to the wayside. They're coming back now, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be out of sync for a week. It doesn't feel good when you get to the end of that week and you're like, oh, that didn't pay off at all for me to have done that. But simultaneously, I can sit here and say, like, I made the trade-offs that I did because of the value and emphasis that I place on getting to know people that I haven't yet to really get to know, that I value relationships of all kinds. I value people far more than I value a lot of the other logistical-ish things that like went to the wayside. Because at the end of the day, like, I at least feel like people are what makes me get up in the morning. It's where I like making my investment. As much as and some of you who know me better like know that I have a healthy amount of cynicism about people and humanity at large, but I have yet to be able to kick that, like, I don't know, sense of hope that just like keeps coming for me. Like, at the end of the day, I just continue to see potential, and I continue to derive value from investing in other people, which is a large part of our conversation for today. So I will be getting back at those typical priorities that I have, things that involve my health and wellness. I'm very excited for what's happening in my health and wellness journey. I start a new block this upcoming week, which is always exciting. I've hit some nice PRs as of late, which is always a lot of fun. And I happen to train at the YMCA here, and I had the privilege of being interviewed about not just slow living solutions, but how slow living solutions and intentionality relate to having a gym routine and to my athletic pursuits. So that will release in a couple weeks here, which is also very exciting. So yeah, I like the direction I'm headed. Even if I was derailed for a little bit, we're getting back on the horse. We're getting back to the consistency. We're getting back to no more smelly dog. So it's all gonna be good. It's all gonna be good in the long run. But to talk about relationships, so let me preface with the 2 points that I think are really key to this episode and that I want to harp on as we're chatting here. The thing is that relationship is a two-way street. And I say that and it sounds kind of like obvious, like, yeah, like it takes two to like make a dynamic work. But there's also like the two sides of the coin for a single person is like we do we do the giving for ourselves, or we do the receiving for ourselves. And the opposite side of the coin for that is that we are either giving, that the other person is either giving or receiving in a similar fashion. And that we thrive from both of those things, and not having one or the other does cause challenges. So let me contextualize that. So if as I've talked about on this podcast before, like I lost my dad a couple years ago. Being there for him was one of the most important things that I could possibly do with my time, but it was also extremely draining and extremely hard. And the challenge of that became that like I was so consumed with pouring into him that I really didn't have capacity for other people the way that I normally would. I just didn't have the bandwidth. And so it became very apparent throughout that time, the people closest to me that had the capability and the capacity to show up and step in ways that I couldn't have even imagined. Were like, those are my people for life. When you're like, I don't have the capacity to be a good friend to you right now, and they're like, cool. I don't need you to be all the friend right now. You are busy doing something for somebody else that's super important. Let me carry the load. Let me give to you because right now you're in peril, knowing that at some point they can rely on me to do the same in return. And like, it's a beautiful exchange to have people who can do that for you. I think that is just so incredibly amazing. And you all know who you are. Thank you very much. Like, I am just so grateful to have people in my life who could do that for me. And I think that, one of the learnings out of that for me that I'm carrying forward as I've now come through that phase of my grief is how important being able to accept and receive that help is incredibly healing for the other person. I think that one of the phenomenons that I have experienced and that I think other people experience, maybe you can share in the comments what your thoughts on it are, but when you've been through an extreme experience of grief, and come out the other side, like I always attribute grief to being like you just have a whole lot of love now with no place for it to go, because the person you were you had invested it in is no longer there. And so it becomes extremely important to figure out, like, what am I going to do? What am I doing with all of this extra love? Like, where do I reinvest that? And I have so much higher capacity to give because I have that additional investment to give of, right? Like, I did not anticipate in going into such a difficult phase of my life that I would walk away just having even stronger sense of what I could do for humanity than I had going in. And I think some of that is also formulated by perspective and recognizing what truly matters to you in life. And clearly we've talked a little bit about that here because that has a lot to do with why I have this business. And I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be working for myself, and I wouldn't be doing this type of work if it weren't for the fact that I had been through something so deeply, despairingly difficult. And I think that has a way of being lost on people this day and age. You know, one of the things I've been thinking about this week related to relationship is how, especially as a single person, and statistically we know this to be true, like higher rates for singles of loneliness and isolation, higher rates of suicide and depression. We have a problem right now in society at large, where people feel very disconnected and are afraid of connection. On both sides, whether it's the one doing the outreaching or the one receiving, that people are struggling really hard with that. And if you don't see reception as being a gift to the other person, I think you're only seeing half the story. It's sort of like, being willing to receive the kindness from another human being, or like giving them the benefit of the doubt and like working at building something, even if that's not like fully defined what it's going to end up being. That's the opposite of rejection, right? So if we recoil in fear of rejection, we've now just caused rejection for another person. If we recoil and then because we're afraid of being rejected ourselves, well, you've just taken yourself out of the picture. So you've caused the thing that you're most afraid of before they could do it to you, which seems a very counterintuitive thing to do, frankly, I think, at least. I logically, I can kind of wrap my brain around it. But simultaneously, I'm like, but it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you. So all this came about, which is not necessarily the most important part of this story, but how this all came about is I went on a first date. And I've been on a lot of first dates, man. I've been doing this single jam for a minute. So, I feel like I'm getting better at vetting who's a good match for me, for lack of a better way of putting it, or like who I have more in common with, or like what it is that I'm really looking for. And this person happened to check a lot of those boxes. Like, they seem great, and not just on paper and not just on superficial shit, but legit seemed like somebody that I wasn't just going it was good enough to have a date too, but I was like, no, I want a date too. I want date too. And they were reiterating that of, I want a date too. But we didn't have a date too. They had a grief-related family emergency. Understandable. That one should need to reschedule. But they didn't choose to reschedule. They instead chose to just press the detonate button and blow the whole thing up in the water. And I kind of, I found myself being really frustrated by that. Because even though we'd only had one date, and they just, you know, their stance on it was like, I can't be in a relationship right now because I've got all this stuff going on and I wasn't expecting this and I can't give you what you deserve and blah, blah, blah. It eliminated the possibility of further connection. It didn't honor the connection that was already made. And it didn't feel like it honored me as a person. In large part because, like, yes, I do have needs and I do have expectations and I do want their full-fledged focus and I do need, like, I do want all of those things. But as we were just saying, when we're talking about relationships, like, some of the time when you're going through a hard moment, like, is the time for somebody else to step up. And while I may not be in the close-knit circle, feeling like I have been offered the opportunity to step in and step up, to me is the gift. That's the please be open and willing to receive, because the opportunity, giving me the opportunity to give, even if I don't know you very well, and even if I can't do anything magnanimous to make it better, like, is still of value to me as a person, is that ability to give back. And so it was this sense of rejection, but it wasn't rejection that had to do with me personally. It had to do with this extenuating circumstance. And that was really difficult because, like, I honestly would rather that it have been like, I just don't like you, or I'm not feeling it, or whatever, because, like, I can handle that, to be honest. Like, that's just another day in the life, y'all. Like, I've been through enough dates that I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, if you're not feeling it, like, I don't want to be with somebody who's not feeling it. It's like, that's not cool. But if you're like, yeah, this seems awesome, and then you're suddenly willing to just, like, implode the whole thing out of nowhere, for no apparent reason, like that, or no, I should say there was a reason, right? Like, they seem to have this emergency. That's a legitimate reason, but that legitimate reason has nothing to do with me and nothing to do with us. And I think that like doesn't, like, on a more nuanced level, like, that doesn't give the opportunity for this newly established connection to grow any roots. Relationships don't strengthen from everything being happy-go-lucky and great all the time. They strengthen from adversity. That mucking it through with people is where the true, like, bond is built. And we see that all the time. Like, when you have a very deep shared experience with somebody, whether that's like you're on tour with them, or you go through some sort of family crisis together, or you've had, like, whatever the case may be, like, something has happened that you have a shared experience with that was not necessarily happy-go-lucky and positive, is really, like, even basic arguments, the ability to find resolution with someone is a skill and a bond builder in a way that you don't get otherwise. And as far as when I'm vetting a partner, like, I'd actually rather vet you through something shitty than I would vet you on a good day, because I learn so much more about you in the hard times. And that's where I get to deliver more. Or if it's my hard time, it's where I get to see how they show up for me. So I mean, the one benefit to this thing imploding so early is I can sit back and be like, okay, well, if this person was going to be so dismissive of me now, when it's shit happening to them. Like, at least I'm not waiting around for something bad to happen to me and they're suddenly like, deuces, because that would be not cool on so many levels. Like, not cool does not cut it, but I think y'all know what I'm saying. Like, if you can't allow people in, like, you don't have it in you to be there for other people. That's a two-way street. That is, you cannot have one without the other. So I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling with the idea that that someone was so quick to throw something away and left me feeling deprived the opportunity of being a part of something or building something greater. That wasn't like, I at least expect that from the date 1 is leading to date 2. I don't expect that date 1 is leading to date relationship. Like, I don't have enough information yet. So when somebody's like, I suddenly don't have the capacity for a relationship, I'm like, well, I wasn't in a relationship with you. I wasn't sure I wanted that with you yet. Like, I feel like I'm missing pieces. I don't know if anybody else ever feels that way. But you're like, well, I feel like we just like tripped on a set of stairs, like falling up. Like, can we just like dial it down for a minute? Like, whoa. Like, where are we going with that? Like, hold up. Like, last I checked, there should be way more to like rooting ourselves in who we are as people and how we want to interact before making relationship decisions. Because it's important to me, at the very least, how people show up, whether it's for me or how I get to show up for them and how willing they are to receive me showing up for them. So, I mean, I learned a lot through this experience. It was very black and white from that perspective. But disheartening, because on a greater scale, I think this happens a lot. I think that people are very quick to self-isolate. I think people are very quick to fear rejection or to fear seeming vulnerable or to have big feelings. And ultimately, like, there should be some, I don't know, maybe I'm asking too much of society. Like, there should be some sort of rationale that allows, that people can have that says like, hey, if I'm showing up as my full-fledged, wholehearted self because I'm having a hard time and I'm asking for help, if your call is not answered like in a positive way, you're probably asking the wrong people. But to not ask at all is to do yourself a disservice. And that's very concerning to me. I don't like that. I do not, that just makes me upset. Because every time that you self-select out, you haven't just self-selected out for yourself, you've self-selected for everybody else that you are out, if that makes sense. So no one gets to benefit from you if you continue to just like pull away. And while there are always those moments of self-doubt, they're always strongest internally and not externally. So to think that other people don't see the value or derive value from you being around is a very poorly made assumption. So to bring it all back around, why, like, if I haven't already reiterated this, why is it important that we continue to show up and like, at the very least, attempt to cultivate relationship? It's because when we have the opportunity to show up and give, that is where people are able to build purpose. They're able to derive meaning. They see their own value. They get to impart their own value onto other people. That's a very important thing those are important experiences for other people to have. They're important experiences for everyone to offer to others. So as we at Slow Living Solutions talk about our different facets of identity, which we have before, we've got personal, professional, family, community. We show up for people in all four of these ways. We need to show up for ourselves. We need to show up for our families. We need to show up professionally. We need to show up for our greater community. Those are all extremely important. But we also need to allow all four of those facets to help us out too. And that in doing so, in allowing and accepting, in acknowledging and receiving, that we're providing a gift to other people, and we're giving them an opportunity to stretch who they are. And it all comes back around, so then we get the opportunity to do that for somebody else. I don't know what we're doing here on Earth if it isn't in some way, shape, or form in service to some greater good that benefits all of us. So it might seem silly to be perturbed, if you will, about somebody deciding that they just can't deal after a first date. I'm sure we could all psychoanalyze that or think about it with any number of different hats on to try and either explain it away or legitimize it or illegitimize it or whatever. I'm not here to be mad about it. But I think every little opportunity counts. I think I'm hurt for that person. I'm hurting myself. I see a greater problem that it demonstrates about our communities and our humanity, and where things are getting lost in the fold every time that we start becoming fearful of what other people are going to think, or thinking that we have to go it by ourselves. And it just the world doesn't work that way. So I'll end it there. Some things just don't work out the way you want them to, and that's okay. And if one more person is just not it, that's fine. I'm one step closer to finding the right person. I'm sure more than just me can relate to that experience. But I deeply care about nurturing any connection that I have in my life, no matter how long it exists for. And I hope that you do the same too. Because I think we would all have a better sense for who we are and what we're here to do and how we contribute to something bigger if we are able to step in and step up for others, and we allow other people to step in and step up for us. So on that note, I will chat with you next time. If you would like to get in touch, you are welcome to apply for the empowerment method. Like, share, follow on all the many a platform. We will have some new and exciting opportunities coming up here towards the end of the year. For you to get to know me a little bit better and maybe engage a little bit more outside of the normal socials, and I will look forward to speaking with you then. Take care.